Check 1, 2. Hey, this is better. Sorry about the false start. Yeah. Let's get into this. Sorry about the late start. I've been working with Copilot to troubleshoot some serialization and deserialization and advanced save scenarios and so on in this PixelArt editor. I had JSON saved to JSON working, but even for a smallish resolution file with only a few colors in it, the resulting JSON file was like 9 kilobytes big. And that's way bigger than I want to see. So I started playing with some compression algorithms, and I managed to shrink it down to 2 kilobytes. And then I was like, hey, Copilot, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. Can we get it even smaller by serializing and saving down to a binary file? And it suggested using some array buffers and some more advanced techniques. And sure enough, it shrunk the resulting file down to less than a kilobyte per image, which is awesome. But now I'm running into trouble reloading the file and getting it into the exact correct case-sensitive JavaScript format and so on. So I've been setting up to be able to debug locally and actually use Visual Studio to step through and analyze variable values and everything like that, rather than trying to use browser tools. And I kind of lost track of time while I was doing that. And let's see here. We've got all that stuff. Here's the chat. And I'm going to save my screen real quick, or share my screen real quick. And I want to say File, Close All. Is there a choice for that? Close All. Boop. Okay. Now, finally, let's take a look at the launch.json file in the .vscode folder. Make sure that when I run the project, it'll launch Edge and attach it to the code running in here. I am not fantastic with launch.json and all this VS Code support file manipulation stuff. So I don't want to look at these. No, go away. I thought I closed everything. Silly goose. Let's take a look at the editors, and here's that. And let's just open the launch.json. There we go. Excuse me. Now, the web root, the workspace folder should be localhost, okay. I believe it's 5173. Let's come back to the chat. Default for live server, use setting web root to your code folder. Okay. I think Vite uses either a dynamic port when it runs, or 5173 if that port is available. But I'm going to go ahead and apply these changes. Right now. keep and save. All right, boogity boogity boo. Okay, yep, Veet's default port is 5173. We'll do that. And the last thing I want to do is make sure that when I hit the magic play button, thanks, Fletch. My son likes to make cookies, which is fantastic for my taste buds, terrible for my circumference, and he is very, very good at it. You're right, I do. If I were to draw myself using a simple paint program, I would use the circle tool. All right, we're letting it do its thing. Okay, let's save all. Start your Vite dev server, press F5 in VS Code to launch Edge, yeah. Okie dokie. So we need a terminal. Terminal, check. And ls. Groovy, looks like we're already in the correct place. So what's the command to launch the dev server and expose the application to my local Wi-Fi network? That's going to be a mouse tool that will come in handy later. Because I have my handy dandy iPad next to me. And once I've got things working and I've got this npm run dev, okay. Cool. So I didn't quite have it right earlier. npm run dev /space /host. Boom. And now I've got network addresses for that. Yep, beautiful. Different network address for debugging, not worried about it. Now let's launch the debugger. And we can see Edge bouncing about at the bottom. Here we are, groovy. Let's try loading JSON. And we'll go with grin.json. See if we can get this guy to load up for me. And I can see that it's still cased incorrectly. So I'm going to cancel this real quick. And I'm actually going to open up my downloads folder. Give me a new window. I want to go to downloads and look for grin.json. I'm going to open it in TextEdit. Because a big problem that I've got in here is that metadata in the JavaScript code has a lowercase d, and for some reason, when I was standing up the save to JSON, like a bonehead, I used camel casing because, of course, I did. And now I should be able to access that file. Now, why is grin.json not open for me? Do I still have TextEdit open? Cancel. Let's reload the page. Load JSON. Here we are. Open. And chances are I've got, nope, there's that. Debug console, here we go. Here's my debug console. So error in event handler cannot read properties of undefined reading name. So at image editor view, render, blah, 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 force repaint, boogity boo. So let's go into updating color data. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so the colors array looks right. That's good. So in the event bus, try catch error in event handler 4. And I want to take a look at event name error. Okay. And then console.log. Whoop. Error in event handler for event name. Error. Not quite what I want to do here. I want to include the data. Save that. Now, let's see if we can reproduce that error. Load JSON. Open up grin.json. Open. And here we go. You should be able to scroll all the way down here. For image operation, type, loaded, action, update, state, data. Let's see what we can get here. arg1. Metadata is undefined. Palette, we're loaded. Pixel map. We've got an array of pixels. It looks like it's been properly expanded. Good. Palette, and the metadata is not getting set. So we need to go up to where that's coming from. And we know that all of that action is happening in the image manager view model. Here's our create new image. This is validate. This class has gotten really, really messy. Decoded. Oh, you dope. I'm such a silly goose. Const decoded file equals decode file. I'm just going to add a breakpoint right here. Now, what's wrong with this breakpoint? Okay, we'll restart. Oh, I got to save. Here we go. Maybe now it'll let me add the breakpoint. Oh, you're a dope. All right. Stop. rerun. It's a very silly thing. All kinds of socket errors, blah, blah, blah. Source map for shared. What are you yelling about? Dialog host, unexpected token. Not valid JSON. I cannot read the view model. Stop. Terminal. What's going on? JS.map. Okay, let's talk to Copilot. I'm seeing a lot of errors in the terminal and debug console that it cannot find the source maps for a lot of these files. Is there something I need to do to generate those source map files? Okay, I got to configure it in the byte config.source. Where is that? It says byte config.js right inside the code folder. So let's shrink this up. And I don't see a vite config source. All right, well, let's do this. New code, new file there. Keep it, save it. And then package.json scripts. Apply. Keep. Save. Terminal, let's stop the dev server. Come on. And then we'll just go npm run dev. npm run dev. Off you go. Oh, something exploded. I'm getting a CAC error. Computer and chair error. Unknown option. -- source map. Copy this. Now I'm getting this when I run the dev server. Come on, you can do this. Troubleshooting is one of my... Troubleshooting this stuff is one of my least favorite things to do. Put your source maps in the vite config file. Source map true, server. All right, let's apply this. Save that. Update the package JSON scripts. Keep. Save. Server is not running. Let's just try a vanilla npm run dev. Go. All right, appears to be working. Start a debug session. Here comes Edge. I'll pull this over here. I'll refresh it a couple of times. Take a look at our debug console. Whatever. Load JSON. Let me pull this whole shebang over here. Let's try to load the grin.json file again. Open Sesame. And we are stopped on a breakpoint. Perfect. Now, I want to take a look at decoded file, palette, pixel map. Looks like our pixel map has been properly expanded. Loaded file. I don't think our pixel map has been properly expanded yet. I could be wrong. But we should be able to step over. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading R, all of that stuff. Palette helper updating color data. Error and event handler for image operation. Excuse me. Okay. And I suspect that, okay, that's working. That's in the working canvas view model at line 85. So let's take a look at that. Features. We can close this stuff. And features, components, working canvas view model. It said line 85. All right, I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. You smell bad. Here we go. Oh, I'm just cursing at Visual Studio. It's being silly. All right. So where is Edge? Here's Edge. And we'll just let it keep going. Get rid of that breakpoint. Let her rip. And it threw all kinds of errors here. So let's drop this back here. And we'll try reloading again. Load. Open the JSON file. Here we go. This event bus publish. Not really concerned about this anymore. Although I should probably look at the palette, make sure it's valid. And those are absolutely valid RGBA codes. Great. So let's let her rip. Do I have the, I don't, but I do have that breakpoint at working canvas view model. So let's go in here. All right, now my color is undefined. My color index is also undefined. Image state. Pixel map. My pixel index should be 0. Pixel index is 0. Okay, something goofy is happening in that deserialization as well. So I've got image state here, pixel map. So pixel map is assigned to pixels. So I got to figure out where I'm doing that in my deserialization stuff. That is all happening up here in the image manager view model. Right. Somewhere in here. We're going to troubleshoot this. Let's restart. Get rid of that breakpoint and just let her rip because it's just going to fail over and over and over again. So my image manager view model in decode file. All right. And we can just shrink validate loaded file for now. And in the editor events, image manager operation, which means I've likely got something screwy in my handler for that image event. Load update state. I'm going to drop a breakpoint here as well. Now I'm going to stop and restart my debugging session. And let's load. Sometimes Edge takes a minute to wake up. Come on. Are we stopped on a breakpoint right now? We are not. Here it comes. Now, I don't know if that's an Edge artifact or if there's something crappy in my code. Cancel. Too many event handlers. Why are you being such a doofus? I'm going to restart the debug session again. I'm just going to fully stop it and restart it. I'd really like it to show me these unexpected tokens. Anyway, Yeah, Edge isn't processing any event handlers right now. Now it is. Sort of. Stop. And maybe I need to just completely kill the server and restart it. Okay, I can draw, which means it's intercepting event handlers. Now, I should be able to load. Yes, I'm sure. And let's open up grin.json. Open Sesame. All right, we've got our decode file. Image state is what was read in from the file. Things look roughly okay. So we should be able to come in here. Good. Now we've got a decompressed array of pixels, which is awesome. Excuse me. Create a new pixel map. And our image state looks about right. Let's make sure. Good. We'll explicitly assign the pixels to this decompressed array. Awesome. And then we get rid of the compressed pixels property. So we should now have a properly rehydrated image state. So let's keep stepping. Now we're going to publish the event. And the event data need to get rid of this. So on line 203, that's got to go. I wish I could add a little annotation here without breaking things. Oop, cannot edit in read-only editor. Fine. New note. Image manager view model, line 203, get rid of the or part of that assignment. Here we go. Just leaving little breadcrumbs for myself. Now we'll step. We are out in the event bus. And we should stop on the event handler. Groovy. Now, let's take a look at what's happening in here. So the update metadata is correct. So we're going to assign that to our image state variable. It is still correct. Our palette still looks correct, which is good. Now, our update.data.pixels is actually a pixel map, and I'm assigning to the wrong thing here. So, rather than farting around trying to get the right stuff and goofing around inside my event handler, I am going to more appropriately name some of these things. which means up here, I need to change also change the data data.pixels to data.pixelMap, and then go to index.js, line 166, and assign update.data.pixelMap as the value for image state.pixelMap. Don't fuss with sub-properties. All right. Step one, following through my notes. This loaded file.compressed pixels, you're out of here. Pixel map, you, sir, have been renamed. Index.js, image state.pixelmap equals update.data. Oh, stop it. You goon. Image state.pixelmap becomes update.data.pixelmap. Now, hopefully, I've got all of the case sensitivity nonsense. Well, not nonsense, but all of the case sensitivity matters hopefully should be fixed. Now, just to be for sure, I come out to my terminal. We're going to hit a Control-C. We're going to go npm run dev. We're going to do a full restart. Now we're going to run the app and connect Edge to my debugger. And we are capturing our event handlers. Let's load grin.json. Open Sesame. We're in decode file. Let's hit that. Update data pixel map looks correct. Image state.pixelmap also looks mostly correct, or it's about to. So we'll just pop, pop, pop. All right, good. And I am going to get rid of that breakpoint and say, release the hounds. And let's see what we get. We have a loaded smiley face. Fantastic. Now, what I need to do before I carry on with this experiment is I need to open this bad boy up in my Finder, and I got to get rid of grin.bpix and grin.json. Those need to go away. Move to trash. And what we're going to do is we are going to re-export. And we will allow it. So we've got grin.json and grin.bpix. I'm going to reset the application state. And let's load grin.json from the file system again. And just go. And we have our smiley face. Awesome. I feel pretty satisfied that this is now working as needed. Let's do a couple more tests here. I'm going to take this yellow that I used over here, and I'm going to darken it up a bit. Let's just take it to 190 by 190. Now we can see all of our dynamic color replacement is still happening. Thing of beauty. Let's do another test. 190, 190. Export the JSON file. We're groovy. Now I'm going to reload from that file that I just saved. And I will answer your question in just a moment, Karax. So grin1 JSON, open sesame, just run, go. And we got our custom color palette reloaded. So we now know that saving to JSON and reloading from JSON is working in every way that I need it to. To answer your question, Mr. Karax, I am collaborating with GitHub Copilot is the product. I do have the $10 a month pro subscription, and I'm currently using Claude 3.5 Sonnet as the underlying model. And together with Claude, since Monday morning, this whole structure started off as an imagined twinkle in my mind's eye. I had an empty folder, and Claude and I have built this together since then. Let's give this guy some hair. Yeah, I'm using VS Code. And I'm just going to change the file name to Harry Grin. We'll export to JSON. Off you go. We could even export to PNG if we wanted to. And open the resulting PNG in my preview. So yeah, so far, so great. Next thing I got to do is troubleshoot that binary file, because if I can get this binary file save and load to work, I am going to be using that instead of exporting my raw image data or my working data. I'm saving that to JSON right now, but if I can get it to use a bpix file instead of a raw JSON text file, if I can shrink these things from over 2 kilobytes, let's see if I can get an exact byte count. It's not going to give me an exact byte count here. But if I can take this from 2 KB down to 911 bytes for this image data, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to do that. So let's try this. Try opening harrygrin.bpix, and let's inspect this variable. So image state's coming in, and let's make sure it all looks right. Compressed pixels, okay, we've got an unsigned integer array of 816 elements. Current color, don't care about that. Current color index, oh yeah, that could be a little goofy, but that's okay, we'll get there. Image data, or image metadata, name, Harry Grin, width, those components all look good. The palette is not loading correctly. It's giving me 100% transparent elements across the board. That means I've got a problem in my binary serialization. We can deal with that. I can live with that. But for now, release the hounds. It's going to blank everything out. But I've diagnosed what's going on with that binary file. And that stuff, whoops, go away, get lost, is happening in not the components, but my lib folder with the binary image serializer. And I have a feeling that it is either blowing up in here. What's this view thing? Const buffer, const view is a new data buffer, or data view built from the buffer. Okay, fine. So it's building all this stuff up. And I'm going to drop a breakpoint here. Come on. And I'm going to have to stop and restart the debug session. So image state palette colors for each. And I'm not going to be able to read what the hell is going on in here and inspect what the view looks like. It'll just be nonsensical rubbish. But in the deserializing, I'll be able to inspect what's happening here. And watch those variables get built out. And I'll add another breakpoint down here to make sure that's all deserializing from the binary data correctly. And now let's take it for a spin. Let's go. My experience with C# and coding in general, I started writing code professionally in 2001 with Visual Basic 6. I am an old man, Carex. Within a year or so of me starting that journey, I moved over to VB.net with .NET 1.0. And VB is what the company that I was working at the time decided was going to be their path and their language. I left that company about 10 years later and taught myself C# during my period between employers. And I've been all in on C# ever since. My explorations in JavaScript are very, very, very new. I've tweaked JavaScript. I've read JavaScript. I have never built a full-fledged, here's a real thing that does real stuff with JavaScript until recently, because I don't enjoy developing against the browser. It isn't a fluid experience for me, or it hasn't been a fluid experience for me. The tooling is really starting to catch up, but it still doesn't beat Visual Studio Code or even full Visual Studio. I'm on a Mac, so I'm running code. And VS Code's really caught up in terms of developer experience. But I've recently, taken the time to figure out how to get Visual Studio Code to connect to Edge and give me like that, instead of having to use the browser tools in Edge or Safari to debug my JavaScript. It took me about half an hour or so this morning to get it set up, but I can now run in Edge and debug my JavaScript directly in VS Code. And that's a game changer, dude. So let's see if we can load up this, or see what happens with this this BPix color serialization nonsense. And I'm just going to do like a scribbly red square. Scribble square. I still prefer C#. Hey, how's it going, Mars? I still really prefer C#, but I mean, it's not terrible. Okay, so here's palette, here's my colors, those are correct. And I'm just going to step in here, color.r, color.g. Oh, those aren't correct. Ho, ho, ho. So I now see in, where's my note? In binary serializer.js, line 49, need to convert the hex to decimal. Now, I'm going to take a 1 minute walk away, and when I come back, we're going to deal with this bug that we have just diagnosed. I shall return very, very, very briefly. All right, sorry about the step away. I have returned. Yes, Mars, all languages and programming environments and everything like that have their pain points. Um, and until very recently, the pain points from browser development and JavaScript in particular were just more than I was willing to put up with. So in here, we know what the problem is. Oh, you goon. There we go. Should be editable now. Guess not. There, let's close that. Now, binary image serializer. Where is our encoding? Our color encoding. It's right here. Okay. Before we can, we can assign the color components, we need to convert the 8-digit hex string into its component parts. Const red byte substring 1 to 3 16, green byte gets 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9. That is not, is that correct? I feel like that's not right. I feel like that's really, really, really wrong. Oh, wait, it is a 9. And const hex digits equals color dot, do we have a replace? Nope. Maybe we do. There we go. And substring. I've never liked substring. Copilot, explain. Substring always gives me fits. Okay, string manipulation code. Here we go. Substring 1, single character from color string, specifically the character at index 0. Method takes 2 parameters, start index, end index. Okay. Hexadecimal color string. So if I undo this nonsense that I'm doing here, get rid of that. Goodbye. R, G, B. Potential gotcha is that this only gets a single hex digit. Yeah. I fixed that. Clear to use dedicated color parsing libraries or built-in color utilities. Yeah, eat it. I'm not going to blow up my collection of imports. And instead of color R, color G, color B, color A, because those don't exist, we are going to say red byte, green byte, blue byte, and alpha byte. Alpha byte is a breakfast cereal for very, very hungry people for whom alpha bits is not sufficient. All right. Now, do I still have a terminal running and is it hot reloading? Feels like it is. So let's try running. And we'll leave our breakpoint right here because I do want to step through this stuff. So let's go. And it's taken a second. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yep. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries. I don't know why. Warm up request, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, we got a big old honking call stack nonsense. So what I'm going to have to do is Control C here in the terminal, npm run dev. Wow, this is almost as bad as debugging Blazor code. And let's try running now. LFG. We're not yet intercepting our things. Indent. We've got that. Control C. Come on. npm run dev. Failed to load source map for stuff. Fine. Is it at least listening? Wow, that's a whole lot of errors. Okay, it's at least listening for events now. Good enough. Load JSON. And what we're going to do is we're going to load up just the smiley face that we've been working with. Release the hounds. Off you go. And there's our smiley face. Great. Grin. And let's just do this. I want to get rid of a bunch of these. Delete all those. And I'm just going to say grin, small. Let's export. And we are into the color parsing thing. So let's step in. Our color, fully transparent. So these should all resolve to zeros. Alpha should be 255 when we come through here. It is, good. All right. Run. Off it goes. Now, here's Edge. I'm going to hit reload. And let's try load JSON. But this time we're going to load grin small from the binary file. Open Sesame. Const colors should be an empty array. It is. Our palette size is 16. And let's see. I'm going to drop a breakpoint here temporarily. Let's see what we get. So RGB and A, those are all zeros, which is what I expect for the first color in the palette definition. Our hex color, that looks appropriate. And we'll push it into the array. A is 255 this time, which is excellent. This is defining white. This is pure opaque red. Let's get rid of that and go. Get rid of this breakpoint and go. Our colors array looks like it's deserialized to the correct values, which is great. Our deserialized state is that. Let's take a look. Grin small, 64 by 64. We've got our array. We've got a uint array that's 400 or 4096. And I believe that's what 64 times 64 is. Let's see. 64 times 64 is 4096. Perfect. And our compressed pixels, that's 497. We don't really need to pass it, but what the hell? Here is our deserialized state. Beautiful. Remove the child from the file input control from the DOM. We can validate our loaded file. We can decode our file. decompressed is now our decompressed array. Pixel map. All right, decompressed is decompressed. We can return the image state. Just let her rip and see what we get. We have a smiley face, and that is fantastic because this bpix, this one's only 589 bytes. Because to compress the file size, what I'm doing is I'm analyzing the array of pixel data, and that array is just a simple, stretched out, one-dimensional array that where each element represents exactly one pixel. And what I'm doing is instead of storing the 4-byte RGBA values, I'm defining the palette for the image over here, and I'm just using the index for the palette as the value in the array. And then in memory, I'm mapping the colors from the index to the real RGB values, and then I'm spraying them all across the canvases. So when compressing that array, I'm doing a couple of things. Because my palette indexes are basically all between 0 and 15, I can fit that index or every single index for this into 4 bits. So the first thing I do when I'm preparing to save is I take 2 pixels worth of color indices and I pack them into a single byte. And then I'm applying a run length encoding algorithm to the resulting packed array. And we can see sort of the thing here. So first thing I do is I pack that array, cuts it in half immediately. Then I build out a new array using run length encoding compression. And then I compare then I compare the size to see which one's bigger. So if the run length encoding array actually works out to be larger than the byte packed array, I just go with the byte packed array and then say all we used was the packed array. If run length encoding turns out to be advantageous, then we go with that option and add a flag to the start of the packed pixel array saying run length encoding against the packed array worked out. So we do both. And then down in the decoder, I check the first bit, and first thing we do is if we did use RLE, we decode it into the packed array, and then we unpack that array to get the fully expanded. And then finally, to get from the 2K JSON image data size down to the 600 bytes for the binary file format, I pull that in here and I serialize it out using array buffers and data views, and then just turn that data view into basically a binary blob and dump that out to the file system with a custom extension. And then, of course, we pull it back in, read the array buffers back into text to get our serialized JSON. We run through the decompression algorithm and return it out to the application, who then shows us a big happy smiley face. I dig it. I dig it a lot. Let's see how big the PNG file is compared to the bpix. So our binary pixel data file is actually ever so slightly smaller than a PNG file. Now, I'm not going to be able to use this bpix file on a website because if I try to embed this into an HTML page, it's going to look at this bpix file and go, what the hell is that? So I'm going to be sticking with PNGs for general purpose stuff. But for storing working projects locally, because it's actually persisting my palettes and all of that stuff. So for saving them to the local file system so you can open them up later, it does that. And then for general purpose use, you can export as a PNG, which is great. And a little later on, when I want to use these bpix files in, say, something else that I'm working on that I'm not going to talk about right now, because I'm not seriously working on it. I'm still just experimenting. I can bring this binary image serializer and the pixel map packer and all of this stuff into the libraries that I use on that other thing that I'm doing. And I can leverage these bpix squished files because they're just byte arrays. So I could push this byte array up to a cloud service and save it and associate it with somebody's user account, a larger project that I might be working on, et cetera, et cetera. I can build out those structures when I need them. Point is, I've got a really, really, really efficient data store for small, constrained pixel art images that I can now use in other things that I'm thinking about. Now that I've got storage and loading working, I think it's time to actually make the drawing experience a little bit easier, because right now just painting raw pixels is okay, but if you're a spaz like me and you're not super accurate with mouse movements and so on, it's less than wonderful. It'd be really nice to be able to flood fill this area. Undo would be really nice. And I think I'm just going to work on this for another, probably today and tomorrow, because I do need to get back to the DMs familiar. I want to get that launched and I want to start selling it. But I think adding a couple of basic, simple additional drawing tools here will just increase the utility of this little component that I've built significantly. And I've already done some brainstorming with Copilot about how we can create some of those additional tools. So I'm going to target immediate undo, just like the oops. I'm going to turn the right mouse button into an eraser so that when I draw with the right mouse button on the canvas, it's just going to automatically paint with the color at index 0, which for this palette is a transparent pixel. Then I'm going to think about flood fill. I might think about multiple layers of undo. I'm not sure yet. But just some basic tools to make applying colors to pixels in the canvas, I feel like would really make this a whole lot more feasible as a pixel art creation tool. I also need to wire up new image. So I'll probably do that between now and this afternoon's session. But for now, we've got our binary export and our binary import working. I like it. And just before we go, because I've always wanted to style myself as sort of the Bob Ross of code, we're just going to end by doing one of these. Now I'm going to thicken up this trunk. Let's bring some roots down this other side here. Now you see that nothing's showing up on the preview palette yet. And that's because I'm not drawing on the real canvas. I'm using an overlay for that. And then as soon as I pick up my mouse button, it's going to transfer all of the pixels I'm setting right now to the actual image data. Now let's thicken up this trunk here. And it can be a little gnarly. It's fine. Now, let's add a little bit of shadow to the underside of these roots. Do, 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 do. Just the undersides. Just like that. And now, why don't we take this purple, and I want to make a nice dark green. And we'll say, we'll leave a little bit of blue in there. There we go. Now, this guy, let's just fill in some background stuff. Like so. On one side, I don't have a fan brush, otherwise I'd be using it. And we'll add some on this side. And we're just going to shoot little branches on our happy little tree. And this is just sort of a darker green that we're going to add, because things in the shadows and a little bit more in the distance, they tend to be a little darker. Now we're going to grab our nice sap green and just kind of go over the top of it. And for this, we're just going to go back and forth, making our zigzags bigger and bigger as we go down the body of the tree towards the trunk. And there we go. And I think we've got ourselves a finished pixel art. And I'm going to call this Happy Lil Tree. Export. Let's get rid of our breakpoints. Go. Come back to Edge. Go ahead and export a PNG. There we go. Oh, I misspelled happy. I'll fix it. Happy little tree. Export. Export the JSON and the bpix. And just for laughs, let's take a look at our file sizing. So here's happy little tree. Our ping is 1 kilobyte. Our JSON document is 3 kilobytes because, of course, we're compressing the byte array and using the run length encoding algorithm that I talked through, or that I breezed past. And our binary image, 1 kilobyte. I dig it. And of course, we can open our happy little tree, and there it is. Would you look at that? I'll be back this afternoon. We'll keep going with some additional features on this thing. I do need to stand up new image, but I think I'll do that offline, like I said, and then we'll start playing around with some, maybe dreaming up some additional drawing tools. Until then, take care of yourselves and happy coding. Bye now.